We are live. It's Friday night. Do you know where you're at? Yes, you're at the Pontificators. You're going to pontificate with the six of us tonight, Friday night. We have Bob, the exalted one. How are you, Bob? We have Zach, the young lad. How are you, Zach?
Howdy.
We have Todd Mulrooney. What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going? That's Todd's sexy voice. Hey, how you doing? Yeah. So it's Todd Sexy Mulrooney. And so we have Chester Busby the third. What's up, Chester?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Chester, you keeping yourself safe? You washing your hands a bunch?
Oh, my wife insists upon it. Yeah. Even though we've been out together, we come home, I have to wash my hands. I don't know what it is, but
good lady. Good woman. Keep her. And we have Joe Albino Thunder Buns Fulton. What's up, brother?
Tippy tappy with a song in my heart.
Ooh, I like that. So this topic, I must admit that I did not do the homework. So I'm probably going to just kind of coast through and just throw my 2 cents in when I can. But what do we call this? We were calling this Comics Apocalypse, or we can call this Chester's the Devil. And Chester will explain, why are you the devil, Chester?
Because you said I was the devil on your shoulder, and you gave the exalted right of angel to the young lad. So, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then
Throw it up for Ronnie James Dio, baby.
Yeah. Holy diver.
Holy diver. Holy shit. What was it yesterday? When was the drawn and quartered fan edition? Was it last night?
Yeah.
No, we had Resident Evil. That was really good.
Yeah, I went in there and harassed you, and I called you the devil, and people in the chat were like, why would you call Chester the devil? Why would you do that? And I'm like, I did.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear my chat came to my rescue.
Yeah, they did, but they don't know. They don't know you like we do on this show.
No, that's fair. That is fair. Yeah.
We know you are the evil one. So, Joe, you want to fill us in on like an overview of what we are going to attack today, the topic of tonight?
Sure. Well, we got a few on the menu tonight. We've got the statements from Diamond Distributing regarding no longer distributing comics for the foreseeable future. If and when they come back would be TBD. We've got Marvel at first not saying anything about their publishing plans for the foreseeable future. And then we got their editor-in-chief, C.B. Cebulski, recommending restaurants and various takeout places for people to order dinner.
CB, my arch nemesis.
Yeah. Then Dan Buckley came out with some lukewarm crap.
Oh, did he? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, he said we're gonna give you discounts. I'm like, discounts on what? Nobody's making anything.
The consumer or the retailer?
Days of discounts.
Yeah.
Who's getting the discounts? Consumer or retailer?
Retailer.
Retailers.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the response from the number one publisher in the industry. Then from DC, the number two publisher in the industry, we had their editor-in-chief, Bob Harris, saying that they're going to continue operations as normal.
Yeah.
We fortunately heard some different statements from various indie publishers, and we've got half a dozen or so, I think, that I'm aware of, and Bob's got some information there. But it was good to see some independent publishers to, kind of fill the leadership vacuum that the absence of Marvel and DC had created. So I know that Peter Samedi over at Alterna was quite active on Twitter, both reaching out to comic shops and also fielding questions from readers, questions and comments from other pros in the business, Dark Horse, Boom, Dynamite. There's several others, I think, that all reached out and stated specifically what they were going to do to try to help shops and readers. So that was encouraging to see. We've got a few other things on the menu. We've got some updates from Chester on the beer bug, what the latest impact, as far as we can tell, and kind of not just the comic book industry, but the world at large. And then Art, we talked about some of the theme park news, being Disney not only having the biggest theme park presence on the planet, but they also own Marvel and therefore Marvel Comics. And they made some very interesting moves this last week.
So you want to start with that then? What do you guys want to start with? Where do we want to go? We got so much here, a lot of heavy lifting, and we only have 2 hours to go.
Well, before we do, could you put that picture of CC Cebulski back up, man?
I can. Yeah, hold on a second. I'll get it back up.
I want to make an observation. This may seem a little hypocritical.
This is the young CB.
Yeah. Tell me, So he's even bigger than this now. Tell me that guy isn't B-word fat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like that fat where you overpronounce your B words, like, oh, I would like a batch of buttered noodles.
I actually met him a couple of years ago, dude, at the Tokyo Comic-Con. Shook his hand. He was quite friendly, actually. The thing that shocked me, because when you see pictures of him, he looks like a big, giant guy. Now, to be fair, I'm taller than average, but he's very short.
Yeah, he's Danny DeVito, man.
Yeah. Well, okay, look at this guy right here, and imagine him on the other side of the phone firing me 20 years ago.
I have some bad news.
You're fired.
But we have to let you go.
Somebody gave him an award too. He's got a little medallion. I think it's Asshole of the Year award. Is that
probably?
I think that's the chef's participation award.
It probably is. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That's probably what it is.
I didn't make anything, but I ate it all.
Dickhead of the century.
Yeah. Here he is now.
God, I hate that guy. He is
better groomed. Yeah. Oh, he's looking sexy here. Hold on a second. Oh, this is a sexy shot. Hold on a second. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He's like, you know what? Support your local New York residents or restaurants, but F comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Look at that nice guy. What a nice guy. What a backstabbing son of a bitch.
I would like the Buscatelli.
Oh, God.
Black and white.
With the bolognese.
Oh, my. Bitter.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's move forward. So where were we before we went on the CB?
Apple.
Apple, yeah.
Ooh, dude.
Apple potentially buying out Disney. Could this happen? It is
happening though, man. They're legitimately buying up stock.
Well, then they're just going to take it over, right? They're just going to buy in, hostile takeover. But anyway, from what we hear, that Disney just took out a loan for $7 billion to try to keep themselves afloat. And all of us here at the Pontificators Central think that the reason Disney's doing this is probably trying to keep themselves strong against a hostile takeover or a buyout from Apple. And so it's starting to look very, very, very likely that Apple may be owning Disney soon. And it's so funny that just maybe, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months ago, Disney seemed like they were riding high and just buying maybe a year ago, buying everything. They had the world buy the short hairs. They had, actually, it's been longer than that. How long have they been putting out the Star Wars movies? A year, 2 years?
About 4 years, 5 years.
Well, they've been putting it out every other year though.
Yeah,
Okay.
they bought them in. They bought Lucasfilm in 2012 and put the first one out in 2015.
Right.
There you go, 5 years.
It looked like they were riding high. They had the Star Wars franchise. Marvel was going strong. Pixar was looking good. They were extending or expanding the parks with Star Wars Land, Galaxy's Edge, not only here, but on the East Coast as well. And then recently, everybody's scratching their heads that they bought out Fox. Like, what the hell, man? And the only reason there was they were thinking for just streaming, just to strengthen the Disney streaming platform, the Disney Plus. But now it looks like that maybe there's a bigger, badder person coming out and going to take a bite out of Disney. Look at that graphic. That's perfect.
And keep in mind also from this side of the world that Apple is riding high right now. A lot of companies, of course, a lot of people are hurting because of this current Voldemort pandemic. But actually, back in February, the main group that handles all of the foreign construction and manufacturing received a major influx of money from the Chinese government and tax credits and stuff like that. And Apple has been producing at a high level since February.
Yeah.
Well, it just goes to show you that these tech companies are really, really strong and doing well financially. And Sheldon Martin says, yeah. I mean, Pixar, the reason Pixar, became the juggernaut was, what is his name? I forgot the tech guy's name.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs.
Thank you. They came in and basically helped out managing them. And didn't they buy? I heard that they bought. Disney bought Pixar. Or wait. Okay, to back up, Pixar. No,
Disney bought Pixar and then put all their guys in charge.
No.
Bob Iger did that.
Before that, I thought was funny because George Lucas, like Pixar, was under the umbrella of LucasArts or whatever.
Yeah. And Steve Jobs bought it.
Right, but he bought it for $1. Did you hear this? Like George, I guess, was going through a pretty heated divorce and didn't want Pixar to be basically torn apart in the divorce. So he sold Pixar basically for $1. And so then Pixar could pretty much go in their own direction without Lucasfilm and wouldn't be kind of disturbed in the divorce. And then, Jobs came in and pretty much turned them into a juggernaut. And then, negotiated that big deal with Disney, because before that, I think Disney was they were just a distribution outlet for Pixar. But then, Disney just bought outright Pixar.
Yeah.
So,
well, he actually sold it for a little more than that. He sold it for $5 million. But considering what it was, Lucas sold it for $5 million. But considering what it was, man, it's like that was nothing.
God, I thought I heard Lucas say he sold it for $1, but it may as well have been $1, right?
But then Disney bought it for $7 billion.
Yeah, and it was worth it. I mean, they made money off that. They made money off the Marvel deal and the Star Wars deal. George went in there and wanted the Marvel deal, but he didn't quite have the goods. But he said he wasn't going to sell it unless he did have the Marvel deal. So he got it. But the problem with the Star Wars franchise is that Marvel had infrastructure, Pixar had infrastructure, but the Star Wars franchise did not, and that's why it fell apart. And it fell apart fast because they had absolutely no leadership, and then Disney just saw the cash cow and just expanded way too fast without having anything really to back it up of substance, and then got a bad reputation, and then the movies and the park pretty much fell apart. The new Galaxy's Edge fell apart pretty quickly.
Well, they still haven't made their money back on that Lucasfilm purchase, and I still stand by the fact that because George Lucas hates Disney. He really can't stand them.
The white flavors.
Well, the white slavers, yeah. But I still think he sold it to Disney as an FU to the fans for not liking his prequels, and he put Kathleen Kennedy in charge, knowing exactly what she was going to do.
Ooh.
I think George knew exactly what he was doing, and I think he's laughing behind the scenes now because he is a petty bastard. Keep that in mind.
Well, I don't know if he did that, but I think he kind of knew that it was going to go kind of south like that. But you look at the situation, man. One of the reasons why they haven't made any money back is they're paying him out the nose for that thing because they sold him a ton of stock. $2.5 billion of the money that they gave him was in Disney stock. So a lot of the money and specifically aimed at the Star Wars franchise. So a lot of the money that those movies bring in goes right to him.
Well, maybe that's why the market's tanking. He sold it.
It's like I actually did some investigation on the whole deal with him, man. And it's like that was one of the things a lot of people don't realize is they didn't just give him a buttload of money. They gave him a bunch of stock.
Yeah, it was $2 billion in cash and just over $2 billion in stock.
But I do believe that George wanted the franchise to continue. And to be honest, Disney is the best place if you want longevity because unlike even Warner Brothers, they're really good at bringing their IPs back around and then just keeping it relevant, constantly. And I don't think he could have got anything. I don't think he could have done better if he went to, like Universal or anything like that. I think Disney was the best bet to keep Star Wars relevant and moving. And Universal could have built the theme park, but to be honest, I don't think it would have been as good as Disney's. The Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, for the most part, is pretty good. I haven't been on that new attraction, but it looks pretty killer.
The biggest problem with the Galaxy's Edge was not what they made. It's the fact that there was nothing classic, none of the classic Star Wars stuff there, and that's the reason why so many people disliked it. And then they're like, "Well, we don't like this crap."
And they opened it before they had the
rides and stuff
attraction going. And the thing is, from what I hear. You were saying that George Lucas was trying to F Disney, but I think Disney had the bigger FU to George because what George does is he still has ownership of the classic. He has partial ownership of the classic characters. So every time Disney uses them, they have to pay him residuals. And so what I heard is, one, they want to keep longevity. So they had to create new characters for the new franchise, right? For the new trilogy. But at the same time, they wanted to change things in a fundamental way because they augment them, then they can kind of claim it as their own. So they just didn't want to pay George out his residuals.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the big reasons why the original director for the second of the new films, what's his name, Trevorrow. That's why he left. Is they told him we want you to kill Luke, and he's like, I don't want to do that. And they're like, well, then bye.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And in Iger's memoir, I think he called it "The Ride of a Lifetime." He was talking about how in the negotiations with Lucas, he led George to believe that while they wouldn't promise to use George's treatments for the 3 sequel films that Lucas already had in the can, he did admit that they led him to believe that they would give his ideas serious consideration, and he told them they would respect the characters and respect the legacy and all of that. And then as soon as the ink was dry on the contract, it was bye-bye George Lucas outlines, and we're going to do things the Disney way.
Yeah, and I think that's because they really wanted to claim ownership of the stuff. But at the same time, they didn't really have clear leadership to do that. You do that if you have a really good idea to go to. You don't do that just as a spiteful, patronize, pat George on the head and just go, yeah, why don't you write something? Maybe we'll use it, that kind of thing. So
yeah, that's probably the first time in George Lucas's life since he got out of film school that he had that happen to him. And you could tell after it happened, he was livid.
Yeah, he wasn't happy.
Did you see the film clips of when they opened Galaxy's Edge and they're all standing at the Millennium Falcon? Man,
George looks like he was sucking on a lemon, man.
Yeah.
Everybody in that whole thing was uncomfortable. I mean, they must have paid. Oh my gosh, was Han Solo? What's his name?
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
But that guy is so done with Star Wars, man.
yeah, they must have paid him so much money just to stand up there, because the only one that seemed to have any enthusiasm was Mark Hamill, because that guy's just a cool dude. You know, he wants his stuff to succeed. And Bob Iger was at least well rehearsed. But everybody else, man, Billy D. Williams, they all looked very uncomfortable.
But I mean, to bring it back to the whole thing with Apple, though, someone put up that little comment that Steve Jobs' widow was the number 5 stockholder at Disney. Lucas is the number 5, is right behind her. So that's how much stock Lucas owns at Disney now.
I think she's number 4, dude.
Is she number 4?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he's like, they're like one of the biggest stock owners there, and then Lucas is right behind them. So,
Yeah,
but that's the thing. So Apple already had an in right there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think it's worth pointing out for those in the chat, anyone that's not familiar with when corporate businesses go head to head and one tries to take over the other, they don't have to buy the entire company. They just need to buy a controlling interest in the other corporation. So all Apple has to do really is buy a majority share of Disney's stock, and then they effectively own Disney from that point.
It would be a nice touche, because, you know, like Disney has done this time and time again. They actually did it to the family-owned business that used to own the Disneyland Hotel. And when Walt was alive, Walt actually had to deal with that family, and he let them own it. So they were kind of paying like lease money to them, but not a whole lot. And they kept it in the family. And then what was Eisner, you know, just wanted to own that land. So they pretty much did a hostile takeover and went in there and just bought stock in that family's business and just took them over from within. And I think this would be apropos for Apple to come in and do the same thing to Disney. Be no love lost. I mean, Disney's not going to go away. I mean, it'll probably still seem like business as usual, but it would be funny to see this happen. And goodbye Iger's hopes for being president, because if he loses his company on his watch, oh shit, man!
Talk about it.
Hell to pay. That would be so funny. I would laugh my ass off if that happened.
You know, you brought up the hotel, and to take it back to the theme parks, there's 2 really big reasons why Disney found themselves in the position they were in, you know, as of, let's say, a month ago, before the beer bug got really, you know, before people started panicking. And essentially what you're looking at is them, led by Iger, spending a whole lot of money. We've talked on a previous show about how they paid more than market value for Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
You could argue that they paid more than market value for Marvel, and they have not seen a satisfactory return on their investment in Lucasfilm or in Fox, which was you mentioned, Art, it was their latest really big acquisition.
And everybody's scratching their heads on that one.
So you've got all that money that they spent, and then you've got in the theme parks, minimum that Disney will admit to $2 billion in expenditures on the books for Star Wars Land at Disneyland and Disney World.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we know from attendance records that they had lower attendance after those 2 attractions being open for a couple of months than they had prior to those attractions being open.
Right, park wide. Yeah, you're right. So what were you?
I think you need to let Bob back in, Art.
Oh, thank you. Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
Sorry about that, Bob.
I boomered for a second. I clicked the wrong thing.
Well, what happens is I explained it before. There's one row, and then it drops down, and I don't see that last row for some reason. So yeah, I think that that's what happened with Disney. And to tell you the truth, I don't think they're going to see any profits on Star Wars in the immediate future. I just don't see it happen. And that Fox, I don't know what the hell they were getting other than maybe content for Disney Plus. Does anybody know why they bought that company?
They bought it for
Hatred.
two reasons. Primarily, they wanted it for primarily it was one, to get rid of a competitor, and two, to actually, like you said, boost their Disney Plus. But they also wanted it because they wanted the Sky Network. Was it the Sky One over in England? But unfortunately, they didn't get that.
No,
but
they didn't get the news either.
Yeah, they didn't get the news channels either, because Sky is like their direct competitor over in England. And
they didn't get Fox News in the deal.
No. They didn't get any. They didn't get any of that stuff.
Okay,
thank goodness.
Yeah, I know. Could you imagine? Already they have ABC and all their news affiliates, and then if they had Fox as well, we're doomed. As far as this, another subject.
Doesn't Sky also have a lot of original programming that it creates?
It has some, but the main reason they wanted it for was because they wanted the sports networks, because Disney already owns ESPN.
Yeah,
right.
And if they actually did end up getting Sky, jeez, dude.
So is Sky a news outlet, or are they sports, or both?
They're both.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, but
they're like an umbrella corp. The way that Rupert Murdoch's, I forget what it is, higher up the chain, but there's Fox. What do they call it? Fox Broadcasting Corp or Broadcasting Partners or something like that, and that level of the corporation had under it, in one area Fox News Channel, in another area 20th Century Fox, and then in another area the Fox cable, not cable news, but just standard Fox TV network.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And actually, Simone makes a good point there, that the Fox acquisition drained a lot of their cash resources.
Yeah, and also keep in mind with Sky, they do make, Todd's right, they do make a lot of original programming. But they're also the ones who distribute Disney Plus in the UK.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah, but this is actually the whole thing, the situation. Do you think the reason why this is happening to Disney, like they're having so many problems, is because as this massive conglomerate that they are, they had their fingers in so many pies that when the entire world went tits up, they just got hit from every direction. And a lot of the businesses that they rely on for steady cash, like the theme parks, their cruise lines, those are steady cash that's constant. That stuff's gone.
Right. Well, I think what happened before that was just the collapse of Star Wars. Like, I mean, think about how much energy and money they put into that franchise, and what little returns they've gotten on those.
Mm-hmm.
Art, let me ask you this: as a long-time fan of the Disney parks, and not just you, but your family. I mean, you guys have been going there for decades. When you went to the parks after they had opened up the Star Wars attraction, and they had jacked up the prices on entry, on concessions, on souvenirs, and they had limited the days you could use your annual pass holder. When you went in, did you, not only in the Star Wars attraction, but just the entire day, did you feel like you were getting your money's worth?
That's a good question.
And there's no wrong answer. I'm not trying to lead you. I'm curious.
I think it is overpriced. Just to be honest, I think everything in that park, the food, everything is overpriced. I have a theory about, because the Disney Anaheim is the highest priced park out of all the parks. And I think the reason, and I believe this is my conspiracy, I'm putting my tinfoil hat on right now. The reason California is a shithole and being taxed and it's so hard, so expensive to live here is because I think they're trying to get rid of the riffraff. I think it's a way of population control because the Disney park here is the smallest park. And they want to keep their profits high, but at the same time, they have to control how many people come in the parks. So I think they raise their rates, so they'll keep the money, up high, but then they can keep the population down. And like I said, I think that's what Southern California is doing too. The cost of living is going up. So what's going to happen is the people that can't hit that high bar are going to go away. So I think what Disney, especially the park here, is going after is they're going after the big spenders. I don't think like Walt's original vision was like for everybody, just the average working, class person. I think right now they're really gearing up to more of a elite or people that make a certain amount of money can go to that park. Because if you think about it, Universal, all the other theme parks are way, way cheaper than the Disney park.
Yeah.
Here at Universal Hollywood, remember, Joe, they had these passes where you buy one day, you get the whole year for free.
Yep, I sure
do.
The
whole year.
Well, I'm sure that I'm sure Walt Disney's head is spinning around in the cryogenic vat. But if you would please show that picture I have here, Art. I have a point to make. The spork. Now they used to give this out free. It was just when you go eat one of the meals over there. Do keep in mind that because people were selling them on eBay as a collector's item, Disney decided, hey, well, we're going to charge money for that.
Yeah. Oh, right. Dude, that's one thing that Disney's never going to do. Disney's all about the buck, man.
Yeah.
They're all about the dollar. And that's one of the reasons why, regardless of what Kathleen Kennedy or anybody says, the situation with Star Wars, man, as soon as they saw that the returns was not working, they're going to change that stuff up because Disney's not about one thing about Disney that you're absolutely can bank on is they very rarely make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
When it comes to money, they're like, if something affects their cash flow, they will course correct that stuff like that.
Yeah. The reason I do like the Disney Corporation is because, before Iger, because Iger he just consumes, he just buys, they don't really create anything from scratch. But even with Eisner, they were building. So I like the idea as being a creative person too, and Zach can probably, and Pod as well, that you need funds. Because my imagination is fertile. I could go in a million directions, but without finances, without money, I can't do anything. And so one of the things I do like about the old Disney model is that they did make big money, but they were also either cutting edge technology or bringing that money and those ideas back into development. And that's the stuff that I kind of miss. And Iger is just basically not creating anything. He's just buying up,
He's appropriating things from other places. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and I
right.
think that's the biggest difference with the leadership at Disney now versus even Eisner, who got a lot of flack for his leader or his time there, his tenure as the president. But I think Iger, when you look back, I think the stockholders were like, yeah, this was good for a while, but holy shit, can you imagine trying to answer to the stockholders now? Oh, man.
Oh, geez.
So I'm curious if either Todd or Zach, you guys, if you were going to take your families to a theme park, would it be worth it to you guys to go to Disney with the inflated prices to get the Disney experience? Or would you be more likely to go to a place like Universal where you've got, essentially the same, I won't say the same experience, but you get the theme park, the hotel, various attractions, all of that stuff for a much lower cost?
And just real quick, Sheldon, yes, we're here. I'm just listening, you know. I'm a good listener, and it is so heartbreaking shut up. That's a heartbreaking answer, is because I used to go yearly. I lived in Albuquerque. I would take the 12-hour drive out to California. It was a year thing. I would go almost every year with my family, and every year the prices would go up, things would change, and eventually got to the point where my wife and I went out, just us two, and we went out to do a whole week at Disney, and we were like, you know what? We could go do so many other things for so much cheaper money, and also like the experience there was just not fun anymore, because it was like this. They took out a lot of the really cool things that you could do. Like you couldn't even sit on the balcony anymore to watch Phantasm, or what was it called? The Phantasmic.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah.
You couldn't even do the balcony or anymore, or do any of the cool experiences. Go into
you want to sit there. It's a premium. It's probably like $1,000.
No, it used to be that you just had to be one of those people that call in. Yeah, it was like $100, but it was worth it because it would pamper you. They would pamper the crap out of you. But and if you want to do something special because it's like your anniversary or something, but they wouldn't allow. They totally shut that stuff down. They took out a lot of the behind the scenes tour stuff that you used to be able to do. You used to be able to say secret code to the Disney employees, and they would take you and do something really cool. And they totally took all that stuff out. It just became not an experience that was fun anymore. So we stopped going, I think, like 2 years before my daughter was born. And I would never go back there, really. I have no desire ever to go back there after that experience, especially not paying $500 for like a week. You know,
it would probably be more if you stayed. Like you could pay $500 a day for a hotel stay.
Yeah,
if you stay on property. Yeah,
and it was just 100% not worth it.
Yeah.
So Todd, same question to you. Would it be worth it to you? Is the Disney magic still there?
Well, I have a daughter, right? So, and they're going in November. And I used to live in Florida. I used to go to it when I was a kid. My dad moved to Florida when we were 5, divorced my mom, went to work at Pratt Whitney down there, from the Connecticut one to that one. And so I had gone so many different times, sometimes twice a year, sometimes once on Easter break, and then once on another, vacation that I would be there. And I would go there every summer. So it's not something I can sit here and go, I'll take, I won't do that. I'll take that away. I couldn't. I have good memories there. I had a lot of good times there. Even when I got older and lived in Florida, I used to get in free because I knew show people that worked in entertainment there. So I always got in free. I was there just in stupid, silly times just to go and drink inside of there. So it's just not something I'd be comfortable going, oh, you know what? They've overclimbed my pocketbook, so you can't do that. It just wouldn't feel right. So she's going, her, my wife, the aunt, and I'm not. I'm the low man on the totem pole. I can give that experience up, even though it's really hard to just not be there to see her enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why most parents go, is just to watch their kids have fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I rode the Dumbo route over and over and over.
And one thing that has changed since I last went there is, there's like 5 more parks in the Florida one. It's not just, it used to be Tragic Kingdom and Epcot, and you go a lot, you quickly outgrow Magic Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And Epcot is more like you're at the World's Fair. Look, this, and the rides aren't really rides. They're just like, come get air conditioning for a while.
Yeah.
So they've kind of outgrown that a little bit and gone into some more entertaining rides, a little bit more thrill rides, because the thrillest ride that was there when I went a lot of times was Magic Mountain and Thunder Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Space
Thunder-
Mountain.
That would be
Thunder-
most thrilling, Todd. Just
Right.
to help.
Sorry, most thrilling rides.
The best feeling.
But now that I think they got a few
He's
more.
bestest.
I think they got a few more that are even
Well,
more.
I think like Epcot's got that test track. I think that's their big e-ticket like thrill ride,
Right.
where you get to go on these banks and you drive this this prototype vehicle. So,
I also went to all the other places too, by the way. Even SeaWorld, even a place. Well, Busch Gardens had a lot of roller coasters and stuff. They had the Twin Dragons, but I went to all those places, even Crocodile Island and all that nonsense. So it's something definitely that I wouldn't want her to I wouldn't take that away, because now it's a commercial, greedy, money suck.
yeah, but the little kids don't know that. So
No, they don't. They don't understand. We're doing the same thing that our parents did. When I was a kid, you could go to movies for 5 cents, and you didn't just see one picture; you saw 3 cartoons.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's all changed. So
It has.
it's just one of those things.
Yeah. So Todd has given up his front row seat, so his wife and daughter and aunt can go to Disney World. So that's pretty badass, dude. You're a good dad.
How come you don't get to go?
It's more of how much money do we want to spend?
Right.
Because we'd need one more room if I went.
So therefore, it has been the price is putting you out. So you would be an affirmation of what the Buns has said.
Right.
Yeah. Literally, it's pricing Todd out of the family experience, and that's good. Good focusing the thoughts there, because right here you're hearing it. I mean, that's a horrible story. Disney, you should be ashamed of yourself. Lower the price so Todd can go with his daughter.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the big mistakes they made this year, is that they normally raise their prices a little bit every year. That's expected. This year, though, in 2019, they raised it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like they raised it, what was like almost like $30,
and they raised it twice.
Whoa!
The thing they did that was effed up is, and this is Iger, man. Before that Galaxy's Edge opened up, they upped the admittance, because they were like, that's when you know it's greed. When they think they have a cash cow, right? They have a cash cow, and then it just, instead of going, we're going to get multitudes in here, we're going to make money that way, they go, we're going to have multitudes in here, but we're going to jack up the admission rate as well. That's when you know that's a greedy company. And just a horrible company. And so they did that just before, and also all the hotels raised their rates and everything, and then everybody got one ride. They didn't even get the e-ticket attraction that they had advertised. So people were like coming from all over the place to stay there and go to the park, and they were getting ripped off. I mean, that's
Galaxy's Edge was nowhere near complete enough for them to put that thing out there like that, man.
Up the price, and then up the hotel prices, food prices, and everything else. And then just recently, like you were talking, Bob, annually they do go up. Well, they also went up just a month or so ago.
Yeah,
twice this year.
Ridiculous. But like the jump last year was like that stunned a lot of people. It went up like I said, it went up like normally goes up like $5-10. This time it went up like $30, and then like you said again, this year they went up their normal rate again. So over the last year and a half, the price of a ticket has gone up like $30, $35, $40. Like, that's crazy, and like $30 and like $50 is what the other people are charging.
Right.
So
those latest price increases were what convinced me that it was time to start looking at other theme parks. Mm-hmm. And when my kids started asking about going, I essentially kind of told them what Disneyland had to offer, because I'm in Southern California, and then I told them what Universal had and what Legoland had. and they forgot about Disney faster than you would believe. They were all hyped about Legoland and Universal, and
If you have little guys, Legoland is awesome, man. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's a lot cheaper. Yeah.
I remember my trip to Hershey. That was nice.
Hershey, Pennsylvania,
Yeah, baby.
the chocolate amusement park.
There,
Yeah, no, man.
Pennsylvania actually is another place. Granted, these aren't corporate amusement parks, but they have Kennywood, they have Hershey, they
Dude,
have.
I've got
couple
Cedar
other
Point
ones.
like an out, like 45-minute drive from me, man. That's
Yeah.
like got the most roller coasters than any place on earth.
My
Great
daughter-
deer hunting too.
Oh
Man.
yeah.
Yeah, my daughter was visiting some family members, and they went to Cedar Park. Yeah,
Cedar Point's awesome, man.
Point. Yeah. She said it was badass. There's like all those roller coasters and stuff. It's pretty cool.
But yeah,
Is
I
it
mean,
Williamsburg in Pennsylvania too, or is that Virginia?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So what else do we have, Joe? So we had a couple different things.
yeah. So another topic was Chester was going to kind of give us an update on the latest of Corona Chan's rampage through the
Oh jeez.
global sphere.
Do we still want to talk about this?
What do you think?
Wait.
What do you think,
Oh
Chester?
no, I definitely have plenty of things to reveal. So
Well, yeah, let's get into it, and then we could kind of. I think it's topical. We should probably talk about it a little bit. And it is affecting a lot of the things that we love. You know, amusement parks, comic books, film. You know.
Well, yeah, and I'm not sure if we made the point earlier in the show, but just to reiterate that it's not just affecting comic book creation. You know, production is affected as well because you have printers that are being shut down. You have paper mills that are being shut down. You have warehouses that are being shut down. So I don't think it's out of place to have kind of an update on the global perspective, and then towards the end, Art, we can kind of tie it back to Diamond, Marvel, and DC specifically. I've got a few updates for the chat, and we can kind of tie it all up with a nice little bow.
Sounds good. Go for it, Chester.
Okay then. Well, there's a lot to cover. There's been a lot of new news actually coming out of China, so I will try to be as succinct as possible. But I guess the first thing I would start with is we've gotten a lot of hidden video out of China recently because I don't know if you know this in the West, but there's a lot of pressure coming on the CCP, in particular Xi himself. And I doubt he will survive this situation, literally. And we can keep our fingers crossed that there might be a little bit of a revolution in China that could at least weaken the power of the Communist Party. We'll have to wait and see on that. But because of all this pushback and all the things that are going on, we're getting a lot of secret video out of China. One of the videos we got recently was showing a enormous lines for people that are finally been allowed to come out of their homes to collect the ashes of their dead relatives. And under police guard with guns, by the way. Keep that in mind. If they show up and they haven't got a ticket to be able to be there, meaning if they just heard you can go down, they're actually being arrested for wasting people's time. China. But the numbers that are coming out, we're not 100% sure of the total infection rate, but the death rate is looking to be around 300,000. All right. Now, do keep in mind that China is desperately trying to blame everybody else for what went on. Of course, we all know that they tried to blame the American military, which was cause nonsense. But recently they've shifted because that didn't work. That now they're blaming Italy. They're saying it started in Italy. Okay, so that's another interesting thing that the Communist Party is up to. But I think more important stuff to know about what's happening in China is, one, the second wave of this coronavirus, which I shouldn't have just said that, the Voldemort. I didn't say that. But the second wave of this thing has started to hit. Yeah. And the second wave is a lot
scares
worse.
me, but go ahead. Yeah.
Because the problem the other information we're getting out of China that I think is very important to understand that unlike most of these type of viruses, you can get it again. Right.
Yeah.
A lot of times with these things, once you get it, you're clear. You have the immune bodies and you're ready to go. But that isn't the case with this current virus. And when you get it again, it's pretty much 90% death for you. And usually coming from heart attack and stuff like that. Another thing that's not being talked about is the fact that a lot of this is affecting 70% of men. Right, your deaths particularly are toward men, and a lot of this male survivors we're seeing it coming out of China that not only they survived it, but they're now infertile. For some reason, this is attacking the genitalia. But another interesting thing, other than a second wave starting to hit in China, is the fact that a hantavirus outbreak has been detected in the Shanghai region. Now, the good thing about this,
going to blame for that one.
From Africa. Let's blame Africa, or Korea. That's where it comes from, the Korean War. But now the good thing about the hantavirus is a good thing. It's far deadlier and it's far uglier. But it tends not to be spread into a pandemic situation. However, we are looking at a weakened system that has been banged on from trying to deal with the current virus. So I think it's a little bit more dangerous, and I think we need to keep an eye on that. Therefore, I suggest to every country in the world, please keep your borders closed to China. Do not open them. Do not listen to any of the nonsense, please, because you don't want that going on. But on the other side of it, though, China has closed their border to all foreigners. Right. So maybe that'll work in everybody's favor. Other issues that are going on around the world regarding this just wonderful pandemic that we have. Of course, we know that Italy got hit really hard. And coming after their in February, of course, whereas Trump in January 30th, he put up the China ban. And then we had pretty much every country that could get on the TV disavowing Trump and saying how ridiculous he was. This isn't a big deal. The flu is worse. Just everybody on and on and on and on about it. And of course, in Italy themselves, they said, well, we're going to prove that we're not racist. And they had Hug a China Day, Hug a Chinese Day. So, that's wonderful. Of course, in Spain, they decided to have just here in March, by the way, and they decided to have their International Women's Day celebration. And of course, now they've just had this huge blooming of viruses. And then, of course, in America, the one who's starting to take over all other cities in the country, of course, is New Orleans, which I spent over a year of my life working on the streets there and in the clubs, kind of honing my musical skills. And why is there this huge bloom in there? Oh, because someone decided they were going to have Mardi Gras.
Oh,
yeah.
They did. Oh, no.
What do you do with Mardi Gras? You kiss and hug and and drink.
Yeah. Well, you get to see some tatas, which is always a good thing. But other than that, it's probably not a good idea. And of course, this is all coming out of the fact that it's this left's need to stand against anything Trump does. And this is not just an American thing. It is a worldwide thing. Right.
Yeah.
You have to keep in mind for those of us older folk in here, America has always been hated. Everyone hates America. It's like a freaking hobby. Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of it comes out the fact that after World War II, we rebuilt the planet. People don't like to accept that. They don't want to talk about it because it's embarrassing to them, I guess. And there's, I guess, this jealousy we have or something like that. But any opportunity they have to bash on America, they take it. And Trump is, of course, have given them that because of all the Democratic pressures and words and various things that come out. But the mistake they've made is in doing that, they wanted to prove that they're not a racist like Trump, who actually had reacted in a smart way, and they did all these extraneous things that now have their population not only sick, but dying. Now, what I want to know in the long run is anyone going to be held accountable?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. And that's just like like that was actually a discussion I got into with a friend of mine, an argument we got into about the whole thing with China and then them trying to prove that this thing was engineered or whatnot. The reason why they're downplaying it is because when it happens, people are going to say, well, what are you going to do to hold them accountable? And the answer is going to be nothing. What are you going to do to them? They're a military power. They're more than that, they're an industrial and economic power. They're not going to do anything to them.
There is some talk right now about, like, with medicines and stuff like that, that we should not have China manufacturing.
That's one thing. That's one positive thing that might come out of this, is that they may look at like, oh, getting rid of all of our manufacturing was a bad idea, especially for things like that. So a lot of that stuff may come back here and be done in-house. But in the overall run, they're not going to do anything to China, even if it comes out that China deliberately, if it, like, and I don't think they deliberately did it. I think it was an accident.
I think so too. Yeah.
But even if it did, what are they going to do? They're not going to do anything.
Look at what America did in Tiananmen Square years ago. Those kids, they wanted freedom. They were getting mowed down by freaking tanks, and America just stood by. Like, they wanted freedom. This is what we fight for. And we didn't do anything. And I think there were some sanctions, but we can't even do that now with the way business is. I mean, I don't even know how you'd hold them, accountable as far as, like monetary and trade sanctions and things like that. It's absolutely insane. And the thing is, China scares the shit out of me, and they have for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And it's since, like, I've been saying this for like 20 years, and it's only gotten worse in the sense that we keep, hey, manufacture more, build more, do more, and it's all for the but in the long run, it's not getting us anywhere. And put the tin hat on again. I do believe that it's part of the global economy. I think that the powers that be, the people that we will never, ever see are going this, because now it's not just regional or your country or whatever. It's the world. So what they do is they go, this part of the world is going to manufacture, this part of the world is going to be this part of the world is going to be that. Like I was saying with California, I think the powers that be are saying, let's make California for the rich and elite, and then everybody else can get pushed out to Texas and Arizona. You know what I mean? And that's what's happening. They're moving into these different places, and I believe that it's population control, and I believe that it's a way that the small elite can just get richer and richer and richer. Because it's not just their shoreline or their boundaries anymore. NAFTA showed us that. It's the world now.
Thank you for that segue, Art. That was beautiful timing, man. Because part 2 of my Voldemort virus about China is this: they are making money hand over fist over this.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And you got to keep in mind, there was a long time ago, I can't remember, it was 2, 3, maybe 4 decades ago, 3 decades ago, a book came out in China, and it was military tactics written by a couple of generals. And their intention with that was to make the statement that we cannot beat America in a military conflict. It's impossible. So therefore, we need to have a different plan. And they actually based it upon Yamamoto's plan that he had in regards to taking over America, which they didn't follow, which we should be thankful of, because they might have been successful with that. But they nevertheless, this plan was an economic one, and they've been working on it ever since. And during this pandemic that's going on, they are making tons of money, billions upon billions of dollars selling stuff, medical stuff. And do keep in mind that we have sales to the Czech Republic, as well as Spain and other places where upwards of 60% of the products that they have sold to these countries are faulty.
Yeah. That was another big story I read, that a lot of this stuff that's coming out is not, it's all messed up.
Yeah, the generic medicines and stuff like that. My wife's reading a book right now on that, and it's criminal because they don't have to stick to the formulas that they're actually mimicking. So some of the time, those medicines aren't even effective.
Yeah, not only that,
60% aren't.
Yeah, and not only that, but their safety procedures. They've been busted. I don't know how many times pharmaceutical companies in China have been busted because they don't take proper procedures to clean the vats when they mix their drugs, and then they put the next batch in, and they're mixing these things together.
Yeah, no, they've been nearly 2 decades here in Japan. It's illegal to buy any manner of pharmaceutical from China because of things like this. And do keep in mind, a lot of you, with the art statement there of Tiananmen Square, a lot of people would probably make an assumption today that things must be better. They're not. They're far worse.
Look what's happening in Hong Kong, man. With all this thing that's going on, everybody forgot about that. They're friggin' killing people. They're disappearing people. They've got concentration camps where they're harvesting organs. And this has all been proven. This is all real.
It is,
and everyone's just glossing it over.
Yeah.
Well, we can keep sweeping it under the rug, but every day they get stronger and stronger. At some point, you're going to have to deal with it. Just like, the economy right now, Disney, comic books, you reap what you sow. And at some point, the check is due. And I think that we're seeing a lot of things collide right now. We're seeing a lot of those things happening all at one time.
And it's one thing that actually people put out is the reason why this is so bad is because we got soft.
Or we just let the greedy people become greedier. And I am going to ask Todd in a moment what it feels like to have the coronavirus. I've
been wanting to say that, but
I do have to finish up with this little montage here of saying the fact that understand that you're only getting information what's going on in America and Europe. You're not getting information from anywhere else. Understand that Pakistan has exploded. The amount of cases there are impossible to count because it's literally a third world absolute asshole, right? And India's having a lot of trouble as well. Southeast Asia and Indonesia, Malaysia, places like that are getting slammed with this thing. So keep in mind that here in Asia, the current infection total is not, what are they saying, 500 some thousand? It's here in Asia, it's almost 5 million. That's how we're counting it, right? More accurately. And also keep in mind here in Asia, they don't refer to this as the COVID-19 or whatever. They call it the CCP virus.
Mm-hmm.
The Chinese Communist Party virus is what they call it. Right?
But we're racist for thinking that.
Racist?
Yeah, they're Asian. They're allowed to say it, I guess. For some reason, and then that tells you why America is so stupid for getting rid of the word Oriental. See, Oriental is specific to what you would consider an almond-eyed Asian, and Asia being the subcontinent itself, right?
The region,
the region, right? But anyway, that's not here. They're there.
Well, my thing is just like you were saying, like the racist or Joe said, is like that the left is still battling this ideological, like Donald Trump is, he's Chester, he's the devil. And he's Chester's little brother, and they're saying like that he's racist because he says the China virus. Like all he's trying to do is to let people know where that came from. Like he keeps trying to say this is where the region. It's not racist. It came from that area, and it's so funny. I think Prager, you did a montage of like when the coronavirus broke, how news was dealing with it because they were calling it, what was it? The Wuhan
virus, or the Kung flu, which is my favorite.
Right. Yeah. And so then the same media outlets, news outlets, after Trump started calling it, like the Chinese virus and whatever else, then they doubled down and then they were like, that's racist. You shouldn't refer to it as that. It's the coronavirus. So they're like, they're not even holding themselves to the same standards. They were saying it. The president starts saying it, in a similar way, and then they're like, "Oh no, he's racist." It's like, can we just get on with this now? I mean, this seems very, very petty when we're looking at a global pandemic. They're still battling between the left and the right here in the States. It's so ridiculous.
Well, that's just like there was this I can't remember the name of this woman. She's one of those she's a crazy activist. She was trying to say that this was this pandemic was directly gendered towards women. I'm like, 70% of the people that have died are men.
And it's
so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a minute, Art. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
Hey, Art, real quick, could you share my screen out real quick?
Sure. Oh, that's right. You're on the bottom tier.
Yeah.
what is this? Oh no, what is this? Is this getting real? What is this?
Oh no. This is
Oh,
Bring out your dead. I'm not dead yet.
I'm not dead yet.
Okay, I don't want to get struck.
Okay.
Shut up. Yes, you are.
Yeah, I'm not dead yet. Yes, you are. You'll be stone dead in a minute.
Man, that was
I'm feeling better.
the close-up.
I think I'll take a walk. You're not fooling anyone. I'm happy. I'm so happy. Clunk. See you next week.
Walk it off. Walk it off. So what else do we have, Joe, while we're waiting for Chester to come back? We're going a different direction now.
Yeah, well, so we'll kind of bring it back toward comic books and the industry at large. One of the things that some people have discovered, some people in the industry and adjacent to the industry have discovered, is that a whole lot of printing is done in China.
Mm-hmm.
And so when those printers in China were shut down with no estimate on when they would reopen, there were a whole lot of books that got shut down immediately. Beyond that, there's a lot of paper that is produced in China. And printing companies have to get their paper from somewhere. So even if a printer is able to reopen their business, they have to still obtain paper. If paper's not being milled, the printer's not in business. So there's a supply chain for comics and other printed material that goes all the way back to the paper actually being produced. And so what we've seen in the US and in Canada is that some printers have been able to remain open because they were deemed essential services based on which contracts they had for their printing operations. And then other printers were shut down. So I've been getting the question this past week of what does this mean for independent comics and crowdfunded comics specifically. And when I had looked into it, I had discovered the information I just relayed within the last minute. So what I've been telling people is it really depends. You can ask whether it's an indie publisher or if it's a creator-owned project, you can ask the creator. Just ask them if you're concerned about it. Has their printer been shut down? If so, do they know what impact that has on their project? If it has not been shut down, then the publisher or for a creator-owned work, the creator themselves should be able to give you at least an estimate. And I would just ask that people please try to understand that for indie publishers and creator-owned projects, the creator absolutely wants to get your project done on time, but there may be certain cases where this thing is beyond their control and they're subject to whatever regulations their printer is under. So I know creators who have been essentially shut down for the time being because their printer was in China or their printer was located in a state in the United States or Canada that was mandated by the government to stop operations immediately.
Or they back their paper supplies.
Yeah, I know. There's actually a paper supplier up here in Cleveland that a friend of mine works at, and they're done. They're out, done, gone. So yeah, this thing, and that's the thing. I think that a lot of people don't realize is that when they talk about these shutdowns and stuff like that, it's not just the like your city that gets affected. Any business in your city that provides services for anywhere else in the country, that's gone too. So everything is basically being hamstrung
in a global economy, in a global society that we live in now. That's the problem, because if you had a problem that came out of your state, it would stay contained in your state or in your city or whatever it is. But now, since we're all so interconnected worldwide, these things affect
everybody. And I think that's the reason why so many companies like DC and Marvel, like we've been talking about, it's affecting them so badly, is that this thing it's not even localized just to this country. It's the whole freaking world. And what's going on here is as bad as it is here, it's 10 times worse in most other places in the world.
Yeah. And also keep in mind, there's another aspect to this, financial aspect to it, that China is doing, and they've been doing this kind of stuff in Africa for quite a while. But do understand that Spain and Italy, particularly Italy, are really concerned right now and trying to shore up their debt, because they're literally, and this is something they've stated publicly, they are literally afraid that China is trying to buy them out, meaning buy the country of Italy.
Oh yeah,
right.
And that's always been one of these concerns that a lot of people have had with like, for instance, foreign countries buying up property in other countries.
Yeah,
these things, like they may seem innocuous at the time, but they can actually lead to some serious situations.
Yeah,
that's why I think that there is a global agenda by these people in the shadows.
Bilderberg Group.
You'll never know who these people are, but because the only thing, like, I always follow the paper trail, right? Where you follow the money, you get your answers. When things don't make sense, follow the money. And the only thing that makes sense in a global way is that, if you're a rich money person and you live in a city, you can only basically conduct business within your city or your state, or maybe in your country, right? But then once your country, then where do you go? How do you get richer? How do you get, more influence? Tear down the borders. NAFTA started tearing down the borders, free trade, blah, blah, blah. And so before you know it, you have just a complete global economy. My daughter in school, and a lot of kids were forced to take many different languages because all the teachers and the schools and everything were like, well, you live in a global world now. You live, where it's good to know these different languages and stuff. And I'm like, well, we still live in America. Like, I'm not planning on, conducting business or going in these different places. And then they're like, yeah, but that's the way everything's going. So everything is global. Everything is interconnected, and it doesn't do us any good. Like, this is a scary thought. Like, when you say you're going to defend your borders or your country, what are your borders? What is your country anymore? These lines are being blurred like crazy. Like, what are you even fighting for? Like, are you fighting for these powers that be up here, or are you fighting for your own interests, your own country? I don't think people even clearly understand what has happened and how much of each one of our own countries have been compromised in the last 30, 40 years. And I think what Chester was saying too is that, China is like, we'll divide and conquer, but it's from within. Economically speaking, we'll take you over. We don't even have to fire one single shot. And we'll just,
that's right.
If you think about the debt, debt is slavery. I don't care who, debt is slavery. It's modern day slavery, credit cards, all of this stuff. This is modern day slavery. If you owe somebody money, then you are a slave to that person. And when we owe that much money to China, I'm sorry, man, they got you by the short hairs.
They do. Yeah. And just so you know, the numbers on us are a little low right now, but the reason for that is because Nerdrotica is 3,000 people watching, Ethan has 1,500 people watching, and frickin' Mr. Menacore has 7,000 watching.
Dude, I actually made a list of everybody that's streaming right now. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. Funhouse with 5,000. Yeah.
Dan streaming, friggin' Mandy streaming, even like the little groups of people that we would normally get. There's a bunch of little groups that are friggin' streaming right now. So it's like crap.
Even Couch Doodles is on.
Yeah.
Yeah. What we'll do is we'll tweet out later after the show, and so I think this is pretty entertaining. So people can come in later and like tomorrow or whatever and watch it. Yeah.
But
I think either between Comic Apocalypse and Chester's the Devil, I'm sure we'll get some eyes on the stream.
Probably. That's true.
So, do we got anything else for the pandemic here, or are we ready to talk about how Marvel has responded to this situation?
Let's talk about.
now you want to make me angry now. What's up with that?
Chester was angry before.
Before we get into Marvel, I just want to make one last point about Diamond specifically, and that is that so Steve Jeffy, the CEO of Diamond, effectively the one and only comics distributor in North America, and they also have international operations. So on the 24th of March, he released this statement. And one thing that I noticed in a lot of people discussing the topic over the past 3 days, most of them either missed or just glossed over the fact that the thing that eventually forced Diamond to stop operations was not comic shops in certain states being forced to close by their state governments. The thing that put them out of business was that their own warehouses in New York, California, and Pennsylvania were all closed last week. And then they were notified that further closures would be upcoming. So the thing that really brought Diamond to its knees, and therefore the rest of the mainstream industry, was government-imposed closures of warehouses. Because if you're distributing periodicals, if you don't have warehouses, you don't have a business. So there's trying to think how I can say this succinctly. Essentially, they don't know when they'll be able to reopen.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's for both the U.S., Canada, and the UK.
Yeah, so there's any kind of idea of them reopening is like completely up in the air.
Correct.
They have no idea, because I think they made a statement that they'd be reopening after a certain amount of time. I was like, how do you know that, man?
Yeah.
You know,
It's fair. It's fair.
but yeah. So Marvel,
Marvel, take it away, boys.
Let's get that image of CB back up.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'll get it up. Let's see.
He's the savior of comics, man.
He is.
got
He
the plan.
is.
He's the man with the plan. We're going to get to see the dig down of this industry and see who really is the leader of the pack. Yeah. I got a feeling, a strong feeling it's not going to be CB, though.
I don't think he's long for the
Somebody had a Dan Buckley quote, too, didn't? Who was
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Okay.
But,
Okay, I'm gonna go the sexy one if you don't mind. We got to have the sexy CB. So there you go.
Okay, go ahead, Bob. Take it
All
away.
right. So Marvel Comics, who has this lovely gentleman at the head of the core, we've seen the way that they've reacted creatively the last couple of weeks to this, by giving us these instant classics like New Warriors with new characters, Stay Spaced and Snowflake. We've seen their future idea for these new X-Men sidekicks. You know,
Children of the Atom.
this literal comics tour de force that they're planning in the wake of this situation. And
Don't forget Spider-Woman. Don't forget her. She's pregnant.
Yeah, Spider-Woman
Using a Deadpool boy. Don't forget that.
Oh, wait. CB, the Oriental. Bringing it all back around.
Yeah, there you go.
That's comedic gold. Look at the chat.
Coincidence? Oriental, Chinese?
Look
I
at
think
my
not. Anyway, we've seen, but with the situation being what it is, and like we said, Diamond shutting down in so many comic book stores, a lot of them are going under from this thing. There's very little, hope in sight, and a lot of them are hanging on by a thread. We've seen a lot of other comic book companies, other than the big two, like Image, Dynamite, Dark Horse, Alterna. They're doing everything that they possibly can to offset this. Image has offered returns and canceled all non-essential releases, such as second printings and reprints. Devil's Due Comics made its entire digital library free for download. Aftershock Comics delayed its shipments. Comixology, everybody's doing a little bit of stuff, but DC and Marvel were largely silent. They didn't say anything.
Right.
And everybody started asking them, what's going on? What are you guys going to do about it? So, I believe it was on the 21st, Marvel Entertainment president Dan Buckley came out and said that from March 18th to April 18th, not even for the duration of this situation, from this specific time period, March 18th to April 8th, all Marvel titles will have deep discounts in addition to the usual retailer discounts in order to help support retailers and customer demand.
Deep discounts for 20 days, of which they're all closed. Sweet.
Yep, that they're all closed.
I know, exactly. That's crazy. Yeah, who cares? This isn't helping anybody. And I think they know it too. Like, these are empty, helping hands. This is not.
It's an empty gesture.
That's it.
It's a completely empty gesture where all these other companies are offering, returns. Like, you can't sell this stuff. Obviously, you can send it back to us. And then just today, where's it at here? TKO Comics, who again another small company, put out this statement saying that until the coronavirus, until the end of the coronavirus threat, that basically they're saying they're committing for this through the duration of this situation. When any customer chooses a store during checkout of their on their website, because they can actually buy the comics directly, they've put in a function where you can choose a brick and mortar store, and TKO will send that store 50% of the purchase price, which is basically the same amount that they would have made if they had sold the book at the brick and mortar store. So they've gone to this length, and this is a small company. DC and Marvel are backed up by two of the largest conglomerates in the freaking world.
Right. Media,
and they can't even go as far as giving allowing returns. So what does this say? And DC, and like you said, Art, DC came out and literally said that they were just going to do business as usual.
Yeah.
So at this point, I don't know how anybody could legitimately support what DC and Marvel in this situation like this. It's very clear they do not care. They're completely disconnected from the situation.
Well, I think what's funny too is, like, as far as DC is concerned, Jim Lee didn't really put out the press release. He let Bob Harris do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have speculated, and I'll just say it. I had a conversation with Rob Liefeld, and we were in agreement that the reason Bob Harris was over at DC is that he would be the fall guy. He's just going to be the puppet for Jim Lee, and that we also had speculated that Dan DiDio would be the fall guy if the shit hit the fan. So there's a series of buffers that are between Jim and, you know what I mean, getting fired or getting all the blame, coming back onto him. And so I think because Dan was the face. Dan DiDio was the guy that always did all the press releases and stuff, for right or wrong. And I think that he was the face, because it's hard. Like, even though he might not have made the policy, it's like the president, but he goes out there and sells the policy. He's the guy that's going to get the shit. He's gonna get all the slings and arrows in his direction. So now I think that in a way that Jim, I just want to say, I don't know if it's true, but like Jim is kind of putting Bob up there now, because you didn't hear much from Bob prior to Dan DiDio leaving, and I think that people really want to hear from Jim, but I think that Jim is probably staying quiet, because really it's a bad position. So anything he says, he's going to get a bunch of shit for. Do
you think it's that, or is it just that Jim is so out of his depth that they have to have somebody else step in?
I think it's because he's Asian.
But I mean, because it seems to me like over the years, like Jim doesn't really want to have much to do with the day-to-day running of the company. He just kind of wants to be like that guy that he wants to be the goodwill ambassador. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And be able to throw some creative input in whenever he feels like it.
I don't know. From what I know of Jim, I don't think Jim would be there if he didn't want to be there. I don't think he'd be running that. He'd be in that position if he didn't want to run the company. I don't think you get those jobs just willy nilly. I think I think you have to really have that drive and you go after it.
But even if that's the case, though, do you think that maybe the reason why he's got him in there is because he's just like, I have no idea what to do here. Somebody tell me what to do.
I'm going to say one thing, and I love Jim Lee. He's given me a lot of opportunities. So I don't want to make this sound like, like this is negative or anything. These are just observations based on personalities and interaction with people. So years ago, Jim told me when we were signing comics and doing things, and I said, I got to go. So I was going to cut the line off. He said, don't do that, Art. I was like, why? He said, because you're going to be the bad guy. He said, get the promoter to do that. Because this is the time when you had like tons of people in line, right? So if you cut the line off, there might be 20 people or whatever that didn't get their book signed or didn't get their head sketch or whatever it was. And so that always stuck with me. And then I watched Jim, and what Jim does is he kind of sets up things in motion where he lets other people kind of speak, or he lets other people do certain things, so then it doesn't come back on him. And so I always just take that into current situation, and it seems like, why was there a co-publisher? Why was Dan and Jim? Why was that even there? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's never I've never heard of this happening before. But then there you go, and then who goes? Dan goes.
So it's all about protecting the image.
See, I told you, it's about that Asian intellect.
Yeah. Well, like this is like corporate 101. Like what corporations usually do, like if you take over a company, one of the first things modern day is you basically eliminate anybody that opposes you, right? And then you hire a bunch of people that can get in between you and like a buffer. You basically set up a wall of people and basically obstacles that people can't go directly to you. So basically what you're doing is you're setting up fodder, right? It's like the old school, like when you would fight, they would go ready, aim, and they would just line up, right? And then then they would kneel down, take a shot, and then the other one, they would reload, and the other would take a shot. And so anybody in that first row was just fodder. They were just going to be decimated quickly, and then all the way back to the general or the colonel or whatever. So I think it's still kind of that way. And when Rob and I were talking, we had a similar observation about these things, and that Bob, I love Bob Harris. I love all these guys, man. Bob treated me right. Jim treated me right. So like I said, these are just observations. These aren't even good or bad. So I don't want to make it seem like, like I'm framing it up as like, oh, one's evil and one's good. It just is like, this is just matter of fact talk. Yeah. So that then, when you see it happening and like personalities, like Bob Harris is a great guy. One of Bob's best strengths when I worked with him on X-Men and stuff is he was smart enough to kind of get out of the way. You know what I mean? Like he let everybody do what they did. And it sounds very simple, but when you look at contemporary leadership in comics, those guys are very heavy-handed, very agenda-driven, very, corporate mandate kind of thing. And I always thought that was Bob's strength, that when we were on the X books, he just like, sky's the limit. He just do it. And we did it, and it sold like crazy. So, but he's not really a leader type. I mean, he's not a master plan guy,
No. That's true. Well, there is a controversy brewing in the chat, Art, that I think we need to address. So if you don't mind, if you could go ahead and we'll take a look at this. And now click on Bob. Please. Click on Bob. Click on Bob. Go ahead. Just click on Bob. Yeah. Just click on it.
Oh, wait. What are you talking about? The image?
Yeah, I want you to click on Bob's.
He wants you to blow me up. Yeah.
Yeah, blow him up. Blow him up. Okay.
Oh, wait,
no, you just kicked them out. Okay, well that works too. All right, here we go. Okay, come back to me. Come back.
Is this gonna hurt? Is this gonna hurt?
It's gonna hurt. It is. Come back to me. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Back to Bob. Back to Bob. Yeah.
Wait, I aced it.
Come clean. I am Peter Cimetti. I just put on 100 pounds. So
That is, or you just ate him. I
Yeah.
guess is the general consensus. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I
Okay.
consumed Peter Cimetti and I took all of his power.
Which one's the before and after, though?
There could be only one.
Is this the before, and this is the after, or is this the before, and this?
Even the walls are similar.
I guess it depends on
That-
if you're racist, Art.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll get that right off my screen immediately. All right, fine. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Don't make Todd laugh. He's dying from the corona. What
Now
are you
we're
doing?
I culturally appropriated Peter. So
You did.
This is the
Now,
man of the
I do
hour,
want to, but before we continue on this, because it gets a lot more funny, as I think many of you know. But I do want to make a really good point, though, Art. If you could bring back up this CB Cebulski picture. Now, there's something that has been in our face the whole time that I don't know if you guys have noticed. We have CB, we have this background of all these great Marvel characters over here, but look down by his right forearm. Who is that?
Mhm.
Who is that? Oh no, that kind of looks like Sana Amanat, doesn't it? Are they trying to tell me something?
that
Dun,
she's
dun,
short?
dun.
That she's tiny?
Mo, why is she there?
more than that, you notice the pattern in his shirt. One of those patterns looks an awful lot like the all-seeing eye.
Oh no, it is. It's right. Conspiracy Theory
Uh-oh.
Tinfoil Talk. Do keep in mind, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have Tinfoil Talk over on Fanspeak, www.fanspeak.live. And this week we are talking about QAnon. Okay, thank you.
I'm getting lost in CB's eyes right now.
You are. I know it's sexy,
Yeah,
but no, I mean seriously.
you can almost hear him thinking about, oh, I want to take that lasagna and just rub it on my nipples.
Oh God, what?
Yeah, Bob, you got to take that on the road, man. Dude.
Hollandaise sauce between my toes.
Oh no. Oh God.
This
Oh,
new
my God.
Warrior thing is going to sell like hotcakes.
Oh, I have a theory on this. You know what? I think I've changed my position as Marvel is genius. They are geniuses to put that book and this X-Men sidekicks. Genius to put them out. You know why? Okay. They know that these are going to be super controversial, and this announcement came after the situation with Voldemort started. So they got these two books that they know are going to be super controversial, and they know they're not going to sell. They're not going to sell very well at all. But now they've got an out. Now they can say we had real positive reaction to this book, but because of Voldemort, they just didn't sell very well. It's not that they weren't liked. It's not that the books weren't good. It's not that people weren't excited for them. It's just that the stores were closed and we just couldn't get it out there.
I got to
Genius.
Wait. Yeah, it's genius. I'm sorry to step on that. We'll come back to that. But I saw this. Don't go there, Art. TV would trade you.
I could see CB like if this thing goes like too long and he can't get out to get it, he could just like sitting out there with a sign saying, "Oh, I'll go down on you for a bag of rice."
Oh, ramen. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can see it happening, Bob. I mean,
I'm serious, man. You mark my words. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. They're going to say, the direct market sales weren't very good, but the digital was actually fairly impressive considering the situation.
They always use that, dude.
Well,
I
already heard that Warner Brothers is they have that chambered for the Birds of Prey movie. That they're going to say that, oh, well, we didn't get our full theatrical run because of the virus, but everybody knew that movie was already dead on arrival. And I think that Disney's doing it with that, what is it, Troll movie or whatever.
Yeah. They've already tried to say that the reason why they didn't do very well is because they didn't get the audience in China.
Onward.
But it was already tanking here.
Onward, yeah.
It was already tanking.
But I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, it was.
I'm telling you, that's what Marvel's gonna do. They're gonna spin this thing. They're gonna say that's why these books didn't do good. It's not because the reception was bad. It's because the market was tanked.
Yeah.
I do believe it's time for a news interlude, though. So, this is Kermit the Frog here, reporting live from Massachusetts. Todd, are you alive?
Wake up!
No, he's not. We lost him.
Scary noises.
Damn it! He was too young.
I'm awake. I've been working really hard, and I finished what I was working on. To the most part, I finished it.
So
Stop
tell us,
making me talk.
I know. Tell us, how does it feel to have the virus, though? I'm curious.
Oh my gosh, no!
I tell you, I was really sick, but it wasn't that. I never had any problems breathing or anything like
Dude,
that.
I'm listening to you breathing the whole damn show. What are you talking about?
Todd. That's just Todd, though.
Is that
That's
a little
true.
bit of
That is
blood?
fair, Zach. That's fair. Yeah.
What are you saying, Chester? Todd's in complete denial?
I think so. Yeah.
It's like
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope
Well,
it's
at least show what I've been working on. Jeez.
Oh, okay. No, I'm up for that. Yeah.
Is this it right here?
pardon our faux pas.
Ooh.
Oh,
Oh God.
nice.
That's pretty.
That's parody.
It's too
It's
many of them.
life.
Is that supposed to be what's it the Midgard tree? What is it? God dang it, I can't remember.
Yggdrasil.
Yggdrasil.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's that plus some.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
they've added a whole bunch of realms, which irks me. But all right, fine.
Uh-huh.
Hey, look at my snake. You like my snake?
Diversity,
I do.
Chester. God.
Yeah, I know. It's so
Is that a
stupid.
railroad track? What is that?
That's stairs down.
That's
the
there. Stairwell, the broken stairwell.
Is the pink one? Is that the dimension that America Chavez comes from, where mommies
think
can
so.
have babies?
Yeah,
That's where
right,
the new.
yeah.
That's where the new warriors come from.
Oh God,
Yep.
yeah. Oh God. But no, it is pretty though. I do love me a good Yggdrasil. That's for sure.
Hmm.
I like how Todd turns this into like the Todd hour. Like he doesn't say much. But hey, look at my artwork.
I'm done though. I don't have to. I have to figure out how to distress it, but I'll figure that out later. That'll be trial and error.
Talk to Zach. Zach knows all the computer like little tricks.
All of them. All apparently.
Yeah.
I do also like how absolutely enormous Hugin and Munin are.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I digs it. I digs it.
Is there a squirrel up there somewhere? You need to have a squirrel. There has to be a
Yes,
squirrel.
the squirrel. You don't see the squirrel. I'll show you.
Yeah.
A squirrel grabbing his nuts.
Ah, there he is.
There he is. There he is. Yep. Nice.
He hit him in the branch. Sweet. There you go. Showing your knowledge. All
I
right.
A lizard in there too. Was it lizard or a snake? What is that on the bottom? Was that the snake?
Yeah, that's
Human gear, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I'll tell you. Have any of you guys read the current Thor book from Donny Cates?
No.
Do we have to talk about Donny Cates?
Well, I mean,
Man,
yeah. Actually, we do got to kind of talk about Donny Cates because
Yeah,
we
we do.
got to
That's what I
kind of
said.
talk about pencils down.
There's a transition right there.
You
Yeah,
know,
go ahead. Take it away, Bob.
That situation where the thing that we've like one of the things that we pontificated about was the fact that coronavirus or Voldemort was speeding
Oh, it's
along
okay.
the eventual demise of the current comic book industry. And when you say demise, I think the comic book industry is always going to exist in some form. It's just going to change drastically. But we are seeing a lot of these same people that were, like, oh no, the industry is in perfect health, everything's fine. They're losing their jobs. They're being told, literally, put your pencils down. It's over for now.
Yeah.
And
They
a lot of them are freaking out, and they're all trying to figure out what they're going to do. And one of the genius ideas was Marvel and DC need to have a crossover.
Yeah, that's Art's idea. It's all his fault. And he's the first one that said coronavirus too. It's not my fault. He said it.
But
Yeah.
one of the things I was actually looking into was the fact that a lot of these people are talking. There are a lot of them are names that they're just unrecognizable. So I took it upon myself to kind of take a look a little bit and see what some of these other people were doing, and found out a lot of people are starting to move to the indie model that we have been talking about. That so many people are talking down, and now others are like they're getting ready to jump into it. So
Mhm.
some that I didn't actually wasn't actually aware of. Bart Sears. Guy, big longtime artist on Justice League Europe. He did the Eclipso book. He was also I think he was the original artist on Exo Man of War.
all right. You don't gotta list his resume, for God's sake.
Hey, Unlike the guy. Shut up.
Roots and Babes.
But but he recently he's been doing. I wasn't aware of this, but he's actually been doing a lot of crowdfunded stuff for a while now, and he just did his the Brutes and Babes book. Basically, he took all of his when Wizard magazine was out, there was a section, a drawing section, a how to draw section called Brutes and Babes. He took all that stuff, added a whole bunch of new stuff to it, and he released a couple of books out of that. But then because of that, I started looking into it a little deeper, and I'm not sure who owns Michael Turner's estate, but they just right now it just went online. As a matter of fact, it's got 32 days left over on Kickstarter, and it's already over $100,000. But it's Michael Turner's creation. It's a hardcover book.
Yeah.
So that's got the his stuff from Fathom and Soulfire and Ecos. Go ahead.
There's no other comic book artist in the world that has made more profit after he passed on than Michael Turner.
Yeah, and I love that dude, man. So if you're like a fan of Michael Turner,
but they've gone and bought some of his sketches. They've had them fully colored, put them on covers, asked people to send them high res of anything he's drawn. So they've eked out every inch of anything he's ever done multiple times.
Yeah, but the fact that they went crowdfunded with it rather than going through Top Cow or something, that's interesting. That speaks volumes, man.
Well, Top Cow and stuff has been doing crowdfunding for a while now.
Yeah.
So
I just find it interesting that they're poo-pooing this idea, and yet a lot of them have either been doing this for a while or they're shifting to it. You know, it's interesting.
They are.
Jim
Ballant, and Art has been saying this for quite a while. I mean, he's been saying he really thinks there's going to be a flood of creators coming over eventually. And this opportune, I hate to use the word, but this opportune situation might lead to that flood.
Yeah.
Well, this week alone, I'm not going to name names, but a lot of DMs, a lot of emails, and people are saying like, how do I get involved? What's Comicsgate? All this stuff. How do I get involved with Comicsgate? And I said, you're just Comicsgate. Just claim your Comicsgate, say your Comicsgate, and just start hanging out in the chats and start networking with people. That's all you need to do. But the main thing is just hang out in the chat. We had a couple people
last week
pontificating earlier this week, bopping around in the chat, and so people are watching. I think people are nervous, and one of the best things, like if I stayed at DC right now, I'd really be worried. But right now, I'm fairly confident because for the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been independent of all that stuff. So it's all like I don't have to rely on a company or all these other factors. It's just between me and the fans, myself, and the printer. You know what I mean? Like it's very minimum. All these different steps or these different people that it takes to put out these books, and so there's really no middleman. There's just me, a printer, and the people that want to pick up the books and read the books. So, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm going to say there's also potentially more profit for you in the long run too, right? Because you cut that middleman out,
Yeah.
One thing I was kind of curious. I wanted to ask you a question, Art, because you're kind of on the subject now. One of the things that Bob hasn't gotten to yet is that we still have had this outrage tweeting from these Marvel pros, basically yelling at, cursing at, and just belittling the fans in every opportunity they can. Right. And we got a really disgusting one come out the other day in regards to this snowflake safe space crap. But what I wanted to ask you was, seeing as you've worked pretty much your entire adult life in the comic book industry, what was the policy on stuff like that? If you did something in public that was so vicious against the consumer, what would the bosses do to you, man? I mean, what? Because they're not doing anything to them now. They're free to say whatever they want, but this can't have been the policy.
Yeah, I think people just had way more common sense. You just don't bite the hand that feeds, right? Like people understood, that we're here, we answer to the fan base. I think people just universally understood that. And then just didn't say anything. Most people just kept their politics and their belief systems to themselves. They drew the comics, they stayed professional, and they put the books out. I don't know if the big difference is social media or just the whole climate has changed, where people feel more entitled to speak their minds, no matter how much bullshit or crap that comes out of it, or even like how self-defeating it is. Like, a lot of these people are putting their foot right in their mouth, every time they open their trap. And like, there were probably the same people way back when, but they just didn't air it. They just didn't say it. People didn't know they were crazy. They just kept it within their studio and kept their head down and delivered their comic book pages and made their deadlines. So I think the biggest difference is people just didn't. I think they had more common sense. They knew that they should just not say anything, because ultimately it's the work that should speak for itself.
But what would the bosses have done
if they spoke out
like they do now constantly?
I think they would have put a press release out, and they would have probably distanced themselves from them. I don't think they would get behind them. If that's what you're asking, I think they would be fired.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
I think one of the major problems is the people in charge they're not like the people that they used to. The professionalism isn't there. And also from the creators, like Art can attest to this, man. Back in the day, when you wanted to be a comic book creator, man, they didn't just yank you off of, like, you put out one indie project or something. They're like, oh yeah, here's a AAA title. They put you had to cut your teeth on the lowest book they had, and you had to, and I think that kind of having to put your nose to the grindstone and build, I think that engenders a kind of humility in you, and a realization that, there are standards. And I think now with like I said, like someone just getting yanked off of Twitter and given a AAA title, I don't think that level of professionalism is there. I think there's an overblown sense of entitlement that comes with that.
Yeah, but what happened to, because I remember, when social media was first being brought around and stuff, all of a sudden you had to be super careful about what you said on social media, because I remember my first job, I've had people that, and I worked in a pizza parlor, like we're all nobodies essentially. We're just like, doing, the base job, first job. And if you said something stupid, like these comic book pros are saying, you'd get fired in an instant.
Yeah. Like I said,
they wouldn't even blink. They would just be like, you're gone. You're gone.
Yeah,
We have nothing to do with you.
I think it goes back to the same, that what I said, that the people in charge are just like these people that are getting picked up. They're being put there. They have the same kind of mindset. They have this level of entitlement, and they see these other people doing the same thing. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, I agree with them.
But it doesn't it also come back to, like, the, even if you're a comic book pro, you're where your consumer is. That's like where, as Art said, like, don't bite the hand that feeds you. It's like these are the people that are gonna, if you show them kindness and respect, they'll invest in you. And these people are just like middle fingering the world, and it just doesn't make any sense why these people think that they can do that and not have any repercussion.
Yeah, I think it comes from like there is a culture war. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, there is a political agenda. There is, when Obama said fundamental hope and change, like, he unleashed the beast, man. Just that one phrase sold the whole agenda. And so I think the thing is, when you have people that that feel, we say entitled, but just to go deeper into it, they feel like they're on the right side of history. You hear them say, "We are on the right side of history." That alone is an arrogant statement. You do not know you're on the right side of history. History gets to decide that. You don't get to decide that. History does. Down the line, we get to look back and go, you know what? Those guys were on the right side of history. At this point, it's an arrogant statement to make. It's absolutely asinine to say something like that. But when you are convinced you're right, when you are convinced that fundamental hope and change is the right way of doing it, then all hell breaks loose. They can do anything they want because ends justify the means. It doesn't matter what kind of collateral damage, how many people are destroyed, how many people are hurt, because the overall agenda has to be met.
History is going to prove us right no matter what we do.
Right, because we've already won. Because the history has already proven that they're right. So they already believe going into the battle that they are completely correct. And that history will prove them out. And that's a really arrogant and dangerous place to be. And I think there's a lot of things that are happening, you guys. I mean, the more we talk, the more we see all these things converging with this pandemic. It's like everybody's kind of, for me anyways, and the more we talk on Pontificators, we can see like all these things kind of meeting and coming together.
Coalescing.
Coalescing. And I had a friend, business partner. My wife, she tries to get these businesses going, and she had a partner, and he had warehouses and manufacturing here in where I live. And so he's like, we'd have meetings with him. He's like, I'm getting the hell out of here. He's like, I can't handle California anymore. He said, there's so many restrictions, there's so much bullshit. He's going, I'm moving to Texas. He says, Texas, they're a lot freer there. You can have a business. You can make decisions for yourself. You can control your destiny. You can do these things. And then he said, and this was years and years ago, man, he said, there is going to be a civil war. He was like 100%. I hadn't heard anybody talk like that, before that. And he said, there's going to be a civil war. And I was like, bullshit, and then, 10, 15 years later, we see everything kind of coalescing, like Chester said, and it's kind of starting to meet. And you see people at like this serious crossroads, and we see sides that just aren't really willing to bend. And I'm not going to say my side or our side or the shared collective of Comicsgate or whatever, but I think we're saying more like we like the way it was. Like we don't want it to change. Like I always say like to me, people that go, you know what, like the John Lennons of the world, and it's like give peace a chance and all this bullshit, and they're like, oh, they always say how horrible the world is, right? The world's terrible, the world's horrible, look at all these bad things. I look at the world like, fuck, man, this is amazing. Right now we're talking to other people face to face. There's hundreds of people right now that are listening to us in the chat. Like, technology is amazing. My career is amazing. Hanging out with you guys is amazing. All these restaurants, all this modern conveniences that
baby back ribs.
Dude, you look back through history. There has never been a better time to be alive.
Right.
Yeah. That's true.
And then all you hear from these people is like, oh, F the president. How much difference is Obama versus Trump? Like has the presidencies been that much different, really? No. Other than maybe one is a little bit more of a politician, a little bit more sophisticated, and the other one is just kind of a guy that just speaks and shoots from the hip. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's the only fundamental
zero filter.
Right.
Well, Trump's been a little more effective, though, I'd say, but that's true. Yeah. Well, I would like to interject before we get too far away on Bob's comment regarding the Twitter hire. And I think we have two very interesting looks here when we're looking at the new Warriors and the Children of the Atom. Because the new Warrior guy, it's clear from watching that video, he doesn't like comic books.
Nope.
You're talking about Donny Cates.
No, we're talking about
Donny Cates also hates everything to do with comics as well. But no, I'm talking about that poorly shorn penis that
Kibble Smith.
Talking about.
Kibble Smith, yeah. Daniel Kibble Smith.
Yes, he clearly doesn't like comic books, and he's trying to make it into something that he does like. But on the Children of the Atom, I saw something very different when I watched that video. I saw two people who have no experience. They were talking about doing something that had never been done before in Marvel, which in truth has been done a dozen times.
Yep.
So they have no clue what they're talking about. They don't know anything about the canon or the actual reality that is Marvel comic books. But What I did see was a couple of young people who were very excited about the opportunity they were given, and were seriously trying to create something that they thought was interesting. They just are ignorant, right? So in those two Twitter hire examples, I saw very different things. Right, one is a person that clearly is anti-comic, and the other ones are people who are excited for the chance. Now the problem is they're given a chance that they don't deserve, because
not only that, it's not even that. It's that this goes back to the fact that they didn't cut their teeth. They didn't put them on the lowest book that they had and have them work their way up. And like I said, that respect for the business, that understanding of how the business, but more importantly, the understanding of how the business works. They don't have that. They have none of that.
They used to call it paying your dues.
Yes. Yeah. They haven't paid their dues. That's the problem.
Yeah. But they're also very ignorant on the canon of Marvel itself.
Yeah.
And no one is correcting them.
And the thing is, they're almost gleefully ignorant. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like when you have Diane Nelson running DC Comics saying, I don't read the books. There's just too many of them. I don't know where to begin.
Well, then it wasn't
a comic book publishing company and not be familiar with the product.
Wasn't it you can tell us this better than that, because my understanding was that's what used to be the editor's job. Part of the editor's job was making sure you stayed like you protected the character, like whatever characters and whatever books they were involved in. The editors were basically the last gate that you had to pass through. They were the keepers of the characters. And nowadays, they're just glorified secretaries.
And that's true, but keep in mind with the Children of the Atom book, which is ridiculously looking thing. But keep in mind, the editor that was speaking there was an extremely young man himself.
Yes,
and he looked like a deer in the headlights as far as his interview was going. And also keep in mind, the entire time he was struggling and how to reference the girl who was writing it, because she's non-binary, and you could tell he kept wanting to say she something, which is the normal vernacular, right? But he kept having to stumble with himself and say her name instead because he was confused. But the whole thing was confused, and he's the editor.
Yeah,
see, I can forgive her a little bit, because
now, is that the way that things used to be, though, Art? Like the editors were they were the guys that you had to pass through that gate.
Yeah, they were the caretakers. They took it pretty serious. They knew the canon, they knew the characters, and either they would enlighten you, or if you clearly didn't understand, they would probably just get somebody in there that understood it better. And that's just how it was. But it's weird. The thing I don't understand is where are these people coming from? It was never that easy to get in the business, right? I mean, you had to know your chops and things like that. But I don't understand where these people are coming from and why they're being hired, because some of them, like we've established, they clearly don't really understand what the concept is, what the Marvel canon is, or what it is even like to create these Marvel characters and these comics and these stories. They seem like they're less involved with the history of Marvel and more involved with the agenda of how that they can use these Marvel characters to say what they want to say.
Well, yeah,
and that's what.
There's social justice warriors, man. Thinking minds of the black lady they hired that just put out that outlawed thing, that one issue Civil War, which she didn't. No one told her, hey, we've done this several times already. Yeah. But where was she coming from? Well, she's a person who's written a few books and done her Twitter blogs and all those kind of things, and she's basically an anti-white social justice warrior. And they hired her because of that. This girl Vita that is doing, although she seemed like a nice kid, to be honest with you, she's another one of these identity politics people, and they're just filling up all the aisles that they have, all their editors and stuff. Go back to Heather Antos and all that kind of stuff. They are identity politics people, and this, of course, should have nothing to do with storytelling unless you were writing a political blog or a political set of books, and that's not what we're doing. We're creating fantasy, we're creating escapism, but they have intentionally shifted the entirety of Marvel over to this identity politics. Some of them, I think, are genuinely just ignorant fools, and others are insidious.
And it all comes back to Sana Amanat, because she's the one who's choosing these people.
She is,
and she's choosing them not because of their talent, not because of their experience. She's choosing them purely based off of surface traits.
Yeah, it should be merit based. Like either you can do the job or you can't do the job.
And every once in a while, like Chester said, you'll get somebody that genuinely wants to do this and genuinely wants to be part of this. They just don't know how.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I do think that for the most part, they think that they're changing the world, and that fundamental hope and change, and they want the world to be a better place. But this is, the older I get, somebody told me years ago in the studio, a guy that worked here, he said, the older you get, the more right-leaning you get. Like when you're younger, you're kind of more, progressive, you're more left. And as you get older, you become more conservative. And the thing is, I think that there used to be, kind of like some fundamental moral issues, like with these stories. There used to be, right and wrong, moral play, like universal moral play. And now they agree that the world isn't fair. Well, the world isn't fair. We're all in agreement on that. But that somehow they're trying to make it fair by overcompensating so far in one direction. And like just the John Lennon song, what is it? What is the Imagine song?
Yeah. Oh, and that communist song? Oh, yeah.
The older I get, the more I think that song is utterly asinine. Like what he imagine this. Like there's been hundreds of sci-fi books that have warned us about this song. You know what I mean? Like, because the only way we're going to have that kind of imagine, John Lennon, that world, is in complete agreement. And to get a complete agreement, everybody has to be in lockstep. And if you're in lockstep, freedom has to be the first thing that goes. So how can you have all of these things that all we are saying, how can you have, all of this stuff? Like imagine, all of these things that they're preaching and saying, but in reality, one of you guys just cut to the chase. It's socialism. It's slavery. And it's giving away individuality. It's giving up your freedoms. It's all these things to have that kind of world.
You're 100% right, dude. Let's just listen to the lyrics. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Right. Nothing to kill or die for. You may say I'm a dreamer. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. Right?
Yeah.
This is extreme Marxism, actually.
And you actually hit the nail on the head, Art. The reason why this stuff it just cannot work is if even one person is not in lockstep, it falls apart.
Yeah.
It will not succeed. So
that's why they become tyrannies,
an impossibility.
Dude. That's why they don't work. Yeah. And just so you guys know, Sexy just walked into the house. Hey, Pablo.
What's up, Pablo Romero, my baby?
Hey, Pablo, what's up?
But and just look at the reaction when all the actors were putting out that tweet with singing that song in their big friggin' mansions and everything.
Oh my
God.
that
thing backfired hard. I'm like you could not be more tone deaf to the situation right now. And here's the thing: I love Gal Gadot. I think she's beautiful, but that was a stroke of stupidity right there.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. And the weird thing, I always come down to this, like everybody in comic books reads all these sci-fi, like we're all kind of like, we all cut our teeth on all these cautionary tales, H.G. Wells, Jules Verne's,
Asimov,
1984,
Philip K. Dick, all of these things.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Even Frankenstein's a cautionary tale, right? So we have all of these stories, and I used to think we were all kind of like, yeah, we understand these things. These are cautionary tales. These are things you don't want to do. 1941, all of this stuff. And yet, like, it doesn't take much of my, like a stretch of my imagination to project this onto what's happening right now. And those same people that I thought understood like the comics, the moral tales, these sci-fi, cautionary stories, all of this stuff are feeding right into this narrative. And it's like, it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. And actually highlight that quote from Albino there, because that's actually
we
true.
should just say it.
Yeah.
Let's just say.
Well, there you go. Maybe speak your own words.
I didn't want to step all over you guys. You were on a roll.
That's what you're here for.
So for the benefit of anybody who's listening and not watching, I said, ironically, shortly before Lennon died, he denounced his own song. He said that he wrote it to make money. And he also gave a television interview where he said that Ronald Reagan, who was a conservative, interested him, and that he was interested in some of the ideas that Reagan had put forth because he was running for president.
Yeah.
Well, just so you know, electrified buttock, you can step on me anytime, baby.
John Lennon wrote a song where happiness is a warm gun. So irony, I don't know.
Right, dude.
But and then
it was the drugs, man. It was the drugs.
Just a little bit on your idea. You said that as you get older, you become a conservative. If I were, I don't really classify myself as anything, but if I were to classify myself as something, it would be a left-leaning centrist. But I am super, super, super anti-bullshit, and this is bullshit.
True. It is. I'm still a little bit surprised I didn't get a little more guffaw from my electrified buttock comment, but oh well.
Dude, I was just kind of going. I was like contemplating it. I was like, oh, could work.
I can hear Zach now. If you Chester, I can hear it.
Hey man, that's what they do to some animals, man. That animals, man, they stick a cattle prod up their ass and
God, what was that?
You had to go there. It was a good, clean joke. Joe's got another.
Ain't nothing clean on this show, man. We are as dirty as sin.
Yeah. So speaking about dirty deeds done dirt cheap, finally, after much investigation, it seems that we finally found out who exactly hired Sana Amanat at Marvel, and not only hired her, but went out and recruited her, brought her into Marvel, and it was Art's good buddy Joe Q.
Yep.
Kisara.
Joe Q, man. And I'm gonna tell you something, that when all that stuff went down in early days of CG with Joe Q, I was actually one of the people that felt like we didn't really we handled that situation wrong. I felt like, I was like, listen, man, like a lot of these creators are very gun shy, and we're seeing that like as they slowly move this way, it's like you got to kind of let them come in their own time, and you got to kind of baby them a little bit, because there's a lot of fear out there. And I thought that's what happened with Joe Q, because he got kind of dogpiled there. But after like looking into some of the things that, like you said, and how he's the one who brought San Amana in, man, I am 100% reversed on that position.
Well, I think like entertainment, Disney, Warner Brothers, all these, I do believe that fundamental hope and change is basically their gods. Like that's what they really want. So they really want a fundamental political shift. And I think that most people either have convinced themselves or really think heart of hearts that it's for the greater good. They see like things that are unjust, but they don't see what is working, and they don't acknowledge that it isn't a perfect society. There was slavery in this country, but there's slavery in the whole world, and there's slavery still to this day. But America and Britain were some of the first countries that actually made a stand against it. So yeah, they did exercise and they did practice, but they were also the first to stand up. You know what I mean? Like this is the dichotomy of the human condition. You know what I mean? Like you can be kind of bad and good at the same time if a better way of thinking about it. So the thing is that during a black man's presidency, I saw more division in this country. I saw less hope. I saw people looking at each other sideways. Things that I thought we had gotten past all get brought to the surface, and it was him. Just think about how inspiring he truly could have been to everybody, and how divisive and divisive he was in his 8 years as the president. And I don't mean to get political here, and I voted for the guy the first term. I did not vote for him the second at all, because I saw things in a more clear light.
Yeah,
I'm not Republican. Yeah, I'm not Republican or Democrat. I'm just kind of like whoever I think is the best guy for the job. And is Donald Trump going to get my vote this time out? Probably. You know what I mean? But that's the dichotomy. Like I can go, like, I don't vote my party. I think anybody that says, oh, this is my party, they're not quite being fair either, because they're already saying that it doesn't matter what their party, who it is, they're going to vote for them, right, wrong, or indifferent. And I don't think you're quite as open-minded as maybe you think you are, that you should be.
Oh, clearly.
Yeah. So
you could vote for Joe Biden, though. I mean, that's an option.
No.
Joe Biden scares me.
Yeah. Dude, ever since...
Chester,
I know, I'm sorry, Zach. Thunderbuds has made his comment, I can't get that song out of my head. God.
Hey, dirty deeds done dirt cheap.
Yeah.
It happened.
You're having trouble with your high school head. He's giving you the blues. Yeah, baby, great song. All right, so
Yeah.
First they did it to Art at Marvel, and then they did it again with bringing in Sana Amanat, and they're doing it again now with all of this nonsense over the last couple of weeks. And Art, to your point, there's this old axiom that says perfect is the enemy of good. And there have been so many examples in history where people tried to chase after utopia because they weren't satisfied with good. They insisted on having their version of perfection. And
Right.
They killed a whole lot of people to try and make it happen.
And perfection's overrated, and we're never going to be perfect.
Yeah,
We're never going to be perfect. Society isn't going to be perfect, but we strive, we work towards, we try to make our judicial system as flawless as possible. That's where fair really, we try to make it exist. So every man gets a fair trial. The same rules apply to everybody, no matter their standard of living, what level they are, as far as their class in society. Supposedly poor people are supposed to get the same, care in the judicial system as a rich man, and all of these other things. So we try to strive for that only in the judicial system, but I think in life it just doesn't really apply at all. Period. Like, fairness doesn't apply.
Well, I think as we move forward in a beer bug infested world, for comics specifically, and then just the world at large, I think that we would all be doing ourselves a favor if, instead of trying to chase perfection, we look at what we actually have control over and try to do our best to do some good in whatever sphere we have. So
and just celebrate what you have, man, instead of always like, oh, what we don't have, these intangibles. It's like, we only have today. Let's enjoy what we have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Boy, what a show. We started out with, what did we start with? I forgot, but we ended up on Marxism. That's always a good sign.
Disney, the virus, and then we got to Marvel a little bit. So
yeah, now Marxism. Sweet.
And now Marxism, and John Lennon's beautiful song about complete slavery and
yeah, right.
freedoms. Yeah. I didn't know that, Joe, that he actually kind of denounced that song and said it was a cash grab. I never knew that.
Yeah, and he was on some when he made the comments about Reagan specifically, he was on some talk show. I can't remember who the host was, But yeah, there's video of it. You can still find it.
Trying to get in here.
Uh-oh, Todd.
What was that?
I think Todd was talking to somebody off.
I see.
Yeah. So did we have anything else, or do we want to try to put a bow on this and wrap it up?
I think we should wrap it up. That's perfect.
It's perfect the way it is. Yes, let's not strive for perfection. We're all flawed, and this is the best we're gonna get.
Just one real thing, real quick though. Just I'm taking a look at at Indiegogo, and just to put a kind of the bow on the top of this thing. If you scroll through this thing, man, you look through the trending section. Probably at least half of these books are CG books or CG related.
And
So
Black and White Vampirilla has been trending at #1 for the last 3 days, and it stistill is.
Yeah,
Sweet.
so that's
How's
give
that
you an
doing?
idea of how powerful this thing goes. So
Oh, it's doing good. I think we're averaging about 1,000, over 1,000 a day, because we haven't even finished the 3rd day. So about 2:00 tomorrow will be the end of the 3rd day. So it's going really good. Yeah, we're all pretty excited about it. Everybody at Dynamite.
as a matter of fact, it is the #1 trending book.
It has been for 3 days now. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
on
awesome, dude.
on
Congrats.
Wednesday, Art kicked it off, and we did it was like a 2 p.m. Was that it, Art?
Yeah. We went live with the launch. Yeah. That was a fun show, man.
It was, and I was going to ask you. I meant to do it yesterday, but have you gotten any feedback from Dynamite so far on the campaign?
Yeah, they're loving it, and Nick is such a slave driver. He's like, get the word out, get back on other people's show. Like, he's never happy with any of the results. He's just work harder. So I am. I just thought of something. We had Dan Frega on that show too, right, Joe?
Yeah, we sure did.
And I just thought about something like he's couch doodles and you're Thunder Bun, so you put your Thunder Buns right on his couch.
Oh.
And on that note,
Frega boom.
Frega boom. So Zach's got a book in. You're still live, right, on your Indiegogo?
Yeah, we still got 7 days.
So let's get a little parting shot and a plug from the young lad known as Zach Bradley.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Zach_DB. And right now, my current project is Golem, the graphic novel, live on Indiegogo. Please go check it out and consider backing it. I'd very much appreciate that.
Yes. And Joe Albino.
Well, thank you, sir. I'll just plug Flying Fortress Remastered, which is also live on Indiegogo. I was the editor on that book. It's a compilation of an 8-issue limited series produced from 2011 through 2017. Eric Weathers was the artist and co-creator. And just in case anybody in the chat doesn't know who he is, he letters about 90% of Comicsgate books. And he's an artist in his own right. Yep, there it is. Credit page proves it. So it was a great project. It was a lot of fun. It's about 228 story pages plus some extras in the back. And if anybody is interested in World War II or history or fantasy, I think you'll probably get a kick out of it. The campaign that's up now has some a little bit of a distinction to it. Eric is calling it the battle damaged edition because in the original campaign there were some books that had some very minor cosmetic defects, and he held those apart. He did not want to send those out to the backers of the first campaign, but he got so many requests for books after the campaign closed that he decided to offer those cosmetic defect books at a pretty sharp discount. So I think it's almost 30% off. Great price for a fun story, and like I said, it's over 200 pages. So if you're looking for a big fat book to read, I'd recommend you give it a look on Indiegogo.
Who doesn't like big fat books?
Mm-hmm.
like books and I cannot lie.
You other brothers can't deny.
So
We are
Bob,
so white. Okay, so check me out on Comic Book Bob. I do shows every week. Also check out our D&D game over on Chester Busbeach's channel.
Ooh.
And check out Pontificators. And also on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on the S&P Network and on Ikari Press, check out the Wrestling Council. Yeah, brother.
Are you ready to rumble or whatever it was, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, right.
If I could
Yes,
reach this,
Todd,
I'll smack you.
All right, I'm gonna leave with a little short story because.
Oh my God! All right.
Yes,
that's Todd. He saves all his words up for the end.
Some people don't realize where this whole Comics Gate thing really started, and once they said, once Richard Meyer did some videos and stuff like that, and it kind of jumped out of that, but the list of blacklisted creators was created by a colorist, and I've said her name before, but I won't even say it now. But I've always been complimentary of her work. She's done some incredible work, and I guess this is going to kind of give it away, but she actually put me on that list, this blacklist. So now I'm a bona fide CG or whatever. And she put me on a list because I was really against there being any Gwen Stacy of any type. I don't care, costume, no costume. Gwen Stacy is as pivotal to the Spider-Man mythos as Ben Parker. So without that, we don't get to where we are with Spider-Man realizing his great power and responsibility. He needs to protect the ones he loves. He has to have this costume identity and try to be as anonymous a person as possible so they don't figure out who he is. So I am not for there being any Gwen Stacy in the Marvel Universe that is alive. And that's just me. That led me to be pushed onto this list. But Once in Future is a book out by Kieran Gillen, Dan Mora, who many probably only know as a cover artist for DC. But this guy's been drawing. He kind of draws what he wants to draw. So he's done Power Rangers and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but a really, really good artist. But this book, Once in Future, is amazing. And I've been talking about this book for over a year. Well, maybe about a little less than a year, because they're only on issue 7, but there was a little quick hiatus. But you know what? Once in Future won some awards recently. Great book. Get out there, look for it. You're going to be trying to binge read something. Try to get on Once in Future. Really good book. And the colorist, she does great work. She did great work on Wayward. Not always great work, but she did great work on Wayward, and she does awesome work on Once in Future.
Well said there, Todd. Very good. And Todd, you got a YouTube channel as well, right?
Oh, I do, but I don't do much there. If you really want to see me, sometimes I hang out with this guy. What's his name? I don't know, Chester something. Cornelius.
Oh, God.
You'll find me there more than anywhere else. So, Fanspeak. I don't do the nerd show on Tuesday, but you don't need to watch that anyway.
God.
I'm gonna do the John Malin real quick here.
No eyebrow. I'm gonna do no eyebrow.
It just gets lower and lower every week. It's just gonna.
Chester, what pearls of wisdom do you have?
Well, the pearls of wisdom that I would leave you with it today, other than come over to Fanspeak and say hello to us, you can find us on Chester Busby, or of course www.fanspeak.live. But I would leave you with these. If you got a lady and you want her gone, but you ain't got the guts, she keep nagging at you night and day, even enough to drive you nuts. Pick up the phone, leave her alone. It's time you made a stand. For a fee, I'm happy to be your backdoor man. Ow. That's what I got to say, baby.
Dirty deeds done
cheap. Dirty deeds done cheap.
Wow, that's pretty good, Bob. Yeah. well, my party shot is going to be a little bit of a Zach moment. So we're going to I'm gonna screen share, and the young lad did something cool for the Black and White campaign. Let's see. Yeah, this is going to be made into a trading card. So Zach, what was it earlier this week, right? That you finished this up?
Yeah. A little bit earlier this week.
Yeah, so he painted this sucker up, and it looks freaking cool. And so we are going to make this into a trading card for the Black and White campaign. And I didn't show you this, Zach, but I've been fooling around with kind of some local placements and stuff. So I'm still gonna fool around with that. So we have that, and then we have the 25th anniversary. But this will be exclusive to the pre-launch, the Black and White pre-launch page. So if you guys, I think it's in the description, click on that, go and sign up. All it takes is your email, and you will qualify for an email address. You will qualify for this wonderful, wonderful trading card done by Zach Bradley, the young lad, as we call him. Major talent right here. Man, I was so flattered that you did this, Zach. It came out so freaking good, man.
Yeah, Chester threw me under the bus yesterday. He was like, it's not that good.
Did you really?
No.
Yes, you did.
No,
Don't even deny it.
Look at this face, man. Look at this technique and everything. This is so cool.
Yeah, you know I'm kidding. I love Zach's art. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed the characters, and then here's Reed Blackett, aka Black. Look at that. In your face, sucker.
But Art, isn't that racist?
Well, you know what? Kurt Busiek said that I was racist because in Black and White, there are no, black is not black. Like, I guess he considered, since his name or his AKA, also known as, was Black, or his code name, that he indeed should be an African-American gentleman as well. So what's more racist, that or the fact that he's a white guy and his code name is Black?
I don't know. Black Lightning. Yeah.
Do you think that Busiek was trying to imply that black is not beautiful art?
I don't know what kind of craziness was going on there, but I've worked with the gentleman. I've done books with him before, and I was like, what are you even talking about? This sounds like crazy talk, man.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Doesn't even make any sense.
Black is beautiful, baby.
Black is beautiful.
Yeah, I think it just seems more racist.
Don't go black. You'll never come back.
You'll never come back. Always bet on black.
That's the guy with Asian fever.
Hey.
So I just wanted to share that. Thank you so much, Zach, for the artwork. I think people are really going to love it. So go to that pre-launch. Give me your email address, and I promise not to spam you. But when the campaign goes live, we will let you know. And that's for the second chance, Black and White second chance. So I had a lot of you asking about how they can get a book, Black and White Volume 1, since the Indiegogo is closed out. So this is how you can do that. And we only have 200 of the Grey Capullo variants left. So that will be in that campaign as well. So have I put everybody to sleep with my plug?
I could sing some more AC/DC if you'd like.
Yeah, Todd was already asleep, so
that's true.
Todd's hibernated again. He'll be back next week.
Yeah, he'll be back. He's got to recharge. So hopefully, Todd will get some medical attention, and that he'll be back in the saddle next week. Oh, man. I'm sorry, Todd. I hope you do feel better with all my heart.
Yeah.
Man.
No, I feel great. I feel fine.
Yeah, you're a good guy, man. It would be a shame to have you not make it for next week.
So before we close out, Art, I just want to say something that there are some new social distancing pickup lines, and I'm gonna throw one at you this week. I'm gonna throw one of these every week, and this week's is, if COVID-19 doesn't take you out, can I?
That's sexy.
Yeah, that goes with our comic apocalypse theme. So yeah, that's an apocalyptic pickup line right there, man. Yeah.
But as Zach told me, actually, the best pickup line you could ever use is "Boom, dick in the water."
Yep.
What?
That's funny.
I don't even understand.
Go, please, before it gets worse.
Yep.
Zach, did you actually say that?
No,
No,
I
he
did.
He did.
Oh God.
He'll never live that down, though.
I know, it's awesome.
Dick in the water. Well, tune in next week for Boom Dick in the Water. All six of us talk in great length about, a dick in the water. Yeah. What the hell, dude?
Where do you go after that, man?
Chester, I've been thunderstruck.
Oh, that's a great song, man.
Bom, 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 thunderstruck. Yes. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks to everybody in the chat. And take care, all.